on, Mo, get out of the way. Come on. Hey, what are you doing? Oh, I know you can come over here. I'll knock my wallet out. Quit being so jealous. Are you jealous? What are you doing? Oh, y'all quit going in there and get what you're supposed to get. Go on. Well, welcome back to Worley Family Homestead. Got a lot of stuff to do today. Got a lot of grass needs cutting. I'm hoping to get the pasture bush hogged and everything today if we can. But the first thing I need to do is something I'd been putting off and I kind of let it slip by a little bit. I need to change the oil and the filter in the old Coleman UTV. So what we're gonna do this morning, we'll try to get this oil and filter changed. There's not a lot of YouTube videos about the oil change on these Colemans. So I'm gonna learn as I go and bring it along with me and we'll kind of figure it out together. First thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the seat out, the bottom part of the seat. You can get stuff a little bit easier that way. And I can see better on what I'm doing. And all you do is pull this up on either side. It just pulls right up. See, now right here is actually, it's in a bad spot, but this is where you actually have your dipstick at to check your oil. Turn some light on so we can see down in here. But if you can see, well, right there is your dipstick. So you got to take your seat off to check your oil, which is aggravating, but it'll be all right. So got that access there. Oil filter's in the back, so let me dump the bed out. As you can see in here, right there is your oil filter. I think I can see that. Yeah, right there is your oil filter. So now I'm gonna crawl up under the bottom and see where my drain plug's at. I'm gonna jack it up so I can see a little better. Well, a little less something extra to do there, but this thing, I tell you what, I've never been under it before at the bottom, but this thing has got skid plates from the front all the way to the back. So everything in the undercarriage of this thing is covered pretty good. So let me get some tools and see if I can pop one or two of these skid plates off and find out where our drain plug's at. There's the old plug right there. All right, and right there is my oil plug. Oh, let me get my finger on it. There it is. That's my oil plug right there. So hold tight. I'm gonna get another wrench and pan and see if we can get the oil out. This oil drain plug is a 14 millimeter. So we'll see how tight this is to get out. It wasn't too bad. It's got a lot of threads on it. It's a long boat. Wow, it's a long boat. It's a real long boat. There we go. All right, all the oil is drained out. I've cleaned my oil plug back in. I mean, that's, I don't know why it's so long, but that's the longest oil plug I think I've ever had. But I'm gonna take and wipe it off a little bit, clean it up. Now I'm just going to snug this up because it wasn't really terribly tight to begin with, and I don't want to wring this off, so I'm just going to snug it up a little bit. I'm going to wipe it back off again. All right, with that done, now I'm going to go back on top and I'm going to try to remove this oil filter. I'm going to put my pan back under here to catch what little oil's in there that's going to be falling out, and try to get that oil filter off. Parts are hard to find for this thing, or I'm not good at finding them either one, but what I did is I went on Amazon finally, did a lot of research, and I couldn't find an exact number, and I can't find a number on that one. There may be one on it when I take it off, but I can't find it right yet. But I'm gonna let you see this right here. This is the one I ordered off of Amazon. I'm gonna see if it works. It looks pretty similar to the one that's on there. It looks really similar to the one that's on there from what I can see. So it ain't big as nothing, but I'm gonna take the other one off, and we're gonna see if this one's gonna fit. It's such a tight fit. There's a housing bolt right there, and the only thing that'll fit between the clearance between that and that filter is as thin as that little piece of metal right there. So I had to get my old chain I'll show it to you in a minute when I get it out. But I had to get my old chain one out, and I see the oil draining out there now, so I'm gonna let it drain out a little bit before I take it completely out. Like it's got a long shaft on it too, which I reckon it's all right. All right. All right, now let's compare some oil filters.
What's this one?
I believe it's going to be all right. I think it's the same. When you look at that, when you put them on top of each other, they're the same. So we're going to try it, see how she does. I'm going to set this to the side, and when I get a chance, I'm going to look at it really good, see if I can find a number on it at all from the factory. I also ordered this off Amazon. It's Matsumo UTV ATV oil, 10W40 4-stroke motor oil, and it says this takes about 2.43 quarts of oil. So but what I like to do first, before I put a new oil filter on, I always take a little bit of oil and put it around my rubber ring that's right here, so it helps it seal a little bit. Some people pour oil into the filter. I'm not going to do that, because if it's a filter that went up like that and screwed on, that's one thing, but since it goes on sideways, I don't want to make no bigger mess than I've already made, so I'm just not going to put any oil in the filter. But once I start it up, it should take a little bit, and I'll top the oil back off once it fills this filter back up. Let me see. Let's see one of them cleaner rags. One of the rags you got right there. I'm gonna wipe around where this oil filter is going to go. Make sure there's no dirt on it between that casting and this rubber seal, because I don't want anything to keep it not sealing. And what I do is I always make my oil filters hand tight, get them about as tight as I can with my hand, and that makes a good seal. You don't have any leaks.
You know how much you're pulling?
It's always good to have jack stands on the stuff you're working on, because as you can see, My jack had leaked down a little bit as I was under there working, and the jack stands are holding it up. So I always usually like to let my jack down anyway, to let it rest on the jack stands anyway. So I'm gonna go ahead and jack it back up, take it off the stands. That way it can be sitting level when I check my oil, make sure it's right. And what I'm doing is I'm gauging by the numbers on this jug. I don't know if you can see that. That's 3 quart, 2 quart, 1 quart. So I'm down to about 1.5 quarts. So I'm gonna check it, see the oil level, and see if we need to add any more to it or not. I know we will after we start it up, because it's gonna have to take a little bit for that oil filter. Crank it up a bit right now a little bit. All right, she's on the full mark, so that should be good. That means the oil filter's full of oil, the engine's full of oil, and we're good to go for a little while. All right, well there you go. There's the oil change on the Coleman UT400. Wasn't expecting the skid plates under it, but there wasn't no problem to get out. It's just a really tight fit in there where that oil filter's at. There's not much room between the engine block and where that filter goes in there. This is the kind of oil filter wrench I normally use, which it gets small enough to get it, but just what it was is this thin piece right here would fit, but once it got to this bigger piece, it wouldn't fit between the engine block and where the filter was, so I couldn't get it high enough to cinch down on it good enough. What I normally use, if all else fails, this is a chain oil filter wrench. What this does, this fits to about any size, but all you got to do is if you can get it around that oil filter, and which I did, I got it to where this top part was under the engine block, and you take this little hook and you can adjust this to any size you want it. And it's like a bicycle chain, and all it is, that little hook will hook in that bicycle chain just like that, and then when you push down on it, you got your leverage to take your oil filter out. So if you don't have one of these, I'd recommend one of these. I've used it quite a bit. Sometimes the other filters work great, the oil filter wrenches, but sometimes this is about the only thing you can get there to it and work, and this works on about everything. So there you go. Hopefully that video helps somebody else that's got one of these, changed the oil filter in it. Like I say, hadn't had any problems with it yet. It recommends that you change the oil the first time at 20 hours. We kind of let it go. We're at 30 hours, so we're a little bit behind on the oil change. The next one I believe is going to be 150 hours. But so far so good. We use it every day. Hadn't had a problem with it yet, knock on wood. And so far it's been a good one. Well, now that we got the old Coleman serviced and looked after, now let's see if we can get there and do a little grass cutting before any more storms roll in this afternoon. Well, that's going to do it again for this video. We appreciate you joining us again. We didn't get everything done that we wanted to do today. Had a few hiccups along the way. We got all the grass cut, got mamas and ours and all around the barns, everything cut and trimmed. And the biggest thing I wanted to do today was get that oil filter changed into Coleman, because it really needed it. And it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. Like I say, I wasn't expecting the skid plates under the bottom, but they weren't no problem. 6 little screws, took them right out. And they're not metal skid plates, but they're heavy polymer skid plates, so they're pretty thick, and I think they'll be okay, but it's covered from front to back, which I didn't know, but it's kind of good to know, especially when you're going through some brush. But wasn't that bad. The oil filter's the hardest thing to get off, but everything else was a breeze, and so not worried about that from here on out. About the only thing we didn't get done today was the bush hogging to the pasture, but we'll get it sometime later in the week. Had a little problem with a bush hog, the back wheel on it that levels it out. It's supposed to turn left and right freely, but it's hanging up for some reason. Got looking, and the grease fitting that's in it has broken out. It probably just needs some more grease in it. We went to Harbor Freight today and picked up a few other things, and I picked up a packet with all kinds of different shapes and sizes of grease fittings. So coming up here soon, I'm gonna try to get those grease fittings put back in that back wheel so to spin freely again and go ahead and get the pasture bush hogged. But again, we appreciate you joining us today. We're gonna go ahead and call it a day. We're gonna go in the house and get us a little bit of supper, and before you know it, it's gonna be bedtime, and we'll start again tomorrow. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you next time.